that point, if I'm paying three guys, will I still be making 100,000? And now I got more responsibility. I got to pay three guys. I'm making the same exact money versus if I was working by myself.
Hey, welcome back to the Landed Podcast, where we talk shop with contractors building real businesses in the dirt world. I'm your host, Josh Stockel, and today I've got Justin Eberly with Eberly Earthworks joining me. Justin runs a land clearing and site work company out of Conroe, Texas, which is right down the road from where I was born and raised in Katy, working across the greater Houston area and well beyond it. Land clearing, forestry, mulching, site prep and grading, demolition, excavation, ponds, like all the stuff people love in Texas. He's knocking it out. He's serving private landowners, residential property owners, and ranches all over the fastest growing regions in Texas. Justin, welcome to the show, man. Glad to have you on.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's just jump right in. Like, you started, I think, in 2025, early 2025, right?
Officially, yes, sir.
Yeah. So what were you doing before that? And then what made you pull the trigger to get into this?
Yeah, so before that, I was working HVAC, industrial HVAC, test and
Oh, cool.
balance.
Cool.
Was doing that in Houston for about 8 years, and I went straight into that from college.
Okay.
And then so I worked there for a while. Typical job, working hourly, overtime, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Doing very well, very well for myself. And I kind of wanted to jump into something to start my own business.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I knew I had seen people doing stuff like this, and I've kind of operated equipment most of my life, just growing up,
Okay.
tractors, skid steers, excavators, backhoe, just, kind of a little bit here and there. And
Mm-hmm.
always enjoyed it. And then we got our own machine as like kind of like farm use, and I was doing that on the side before 2025. So probably for about a year or two, kind of on
Okay.
the side, just side gigs kind of thing, and seeing I could, make a business out of it, kind of
Yeah.
thinking. And then in 2025, I kind of had an opportunity to step away from my job to kind of start my own thing, because I had basically a friend of mine who ran a business, and he needed somebody essentially kind of part time to do like power plant, mowing power plant, tractors and stuff.
Okay.
I was like, I can do that. And I can also facilitate, do my own job, start my own business while maintaining an income to
Yeah.
launch my own business, because you got kids and a wife to feed. You
Yeah.
can't really, it's really hard to pull that trigger.
Yeah,
So
for
I
sure.
seen it as a door to kind of do something I've always wanted to do, is start my own
Yeah.
business. Something I can grow, and you know
Yeah. So you
I
done
would,
what was the heavy machinery you were working with beforehand?
just mainly skid steers, excavators, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Just tractors. So I just been around equipment, just mechanically inclined, learn how to
Yeah.
do your basic stuff. Um, Braided mowers, different things like that. So
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
the bat wings, things like
Oh yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. That's a big jump
So
though, from HVAC over to heavy machinery, right?
right, yeah, I mean it is, but so like I said, I went to college. I kind of pretty versed in a lot of things, and
Sure.
I like taking on a lot of things. I like learning new stuff. From be it from like welding or whatever. Like I
Sure.
knew how to weld a little bit before, but then like once you start breaking stuff, you're like, well, I got to figure it out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I went half and half with the welder with my brother, and
Yeah.
started welding, and before you know it, I'm fixing all the
Yeah.
stuff, and pretty decent welding, I guess. So you kind of learn things as you go, and I kind of it's it, and I take that as even like a job. Like I go and tackle a job I may not have done this a big a scale or whatever, but you kind of use
Yeah.
it as an opportunity. You might make money off it. Yeah, that's a profit, that's a gain. But
Yeah.
to me, if it's something I had never done before, and I get to learn to do it and teach myself or learn from somebody else as I'm doing it, that's more benefit to me than the monetary value,
Oh yeah.
because I can add to my toolbox
Yeah.
essentially, to what
For
I
sure.
can do.
Yeah.
So I kind of treat everything kind of like what can I learn how to do, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be something like that, and I just kind of my mentality when it comes to a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, that's I mean, similar to our industry, we do marketing for a living, right? And so I first started with like I know how to build a website and I know how to do SEO. I know how to get things ranked on Google. But then as I'm
Right.
going, I'm realizing, hey, there's more marketing out there that is needed because at the end of the day, these are all just tools. These skills that we
Yeah.
have are just tools to accomplish something. So if we can keep scaling our knowledge base on what we can do, then we can also increase our offering and what we can do for others, right? So
All right. Sure.
I think
Sure.
that's a great fit. So you're right now you're working in, and I know you go far and wide, but like your home
Mhm.
base in the Conroe area is like one of the fastest growing parts of the country. So what
Yeah.
would you say? Go ahead.
Well, yeah. I was just say a few years ago, I think Conroe was the number one growing city in America. It
Mm,
was. Like it or not, it's kind of, people were like, so many people moving here, and I was like,
yeah,
yeah,
it is
and
what it
a lot,
is.
it's that's part of it. A lot of people also moving away out and trying to
Yeah,
get because as everything expands, move out. So people are
yeah,
wanting to build lots and stuff, and you know, and I think it's kind of what I'm doing is kind of like not necessarily huge like some of the commercial guys. I'm more of like I'm the sole operator. I recruit help when I need it from different
sure.
friends who know how to do stuff as well.
Yeah,
But for like small like residential, somebody who bought the land, wants it cleared, wants it site rep, basically getting it ready to start to build. That's kind of like a niche thing. Like I think I've
sure.
kind of I've fallen into, which is good for the area if that's growing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I was just
but
telling Ryan before the show that I grew up in Katy, right on the west side of Houston.
mhm,
And back then, I grew up in the 80s and 90s in the Katy area. Back then, further west down I-10 is Sealy. My aunt used to be the mayor of Sealy for like a lot of years. And when we would go visit her, it was, I actually lived in the Houston, I had a Houston address. We had to go through Katy to get Sealy. But back then, there was all this farmland in between Katy and Sealy. But now, as I've been driving back, we're remodeling my childhood home. Dude, it's
yeah,
like nothing but city. It's like Houston all the way
hmm,
past, which I know in all directions, including Conroe, like that's what's going on is all this explosive development and growth.
yep.
So what for you though, like what would you say is like, the main what's driving the work? Like is it development or is it like the ranches? Is it, people buying up acreage? What is it?
It's kind of been a little bit of both for me. I've done a few jobs for like ranch owners who people who they got a big chunk of land, they kind of let it get behind, whether it be brush or trees or a certain area, stuff like that. Then, but a lot of it's I would say I'd probably say 80% of my work is like residential. Somebody who
Hmm.
who who has land who wants it cleaned up. I would say
Yeah.
that's or I'd probably maybe closer to 60%. And then you got
Okay.
another 30% is probably they just bought the land. Okay, hey, I'm kind of
Right.
thinking about what I want to do. I want to be able to see
Right.
the lay of the land, so I'll go through and debrush it or whatever, and take and leave all the main trees, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then occasionally I'll get the larger jobs where it's like, hey, I need you to come over here for a week and clean up my ranch and do stuff like that.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
nice when you get those because it's like, okay, I can, I have a
Yeah.
little, can fill out my schedule for the week, not have to worry about it and go out there and just work.
Right. Yeah, you got the
But,
bigger, longer jobs, and then you got these little smaller ones in between that fill the gaps.
right.
And we've had other clients come on board and say same thing, like, "Hey, some guys who do like commercial level, they're like, commercial, we may be
Hmm.
booked for a month or 6
Yeah.
weeks, but then we're off for like 2 before the next
Yeah.
big project. How do we fill in the gaps
Yeah.
in between with not another giant job because we can't, it has to be smaller stuff, but
Right. Sure.
it almost feels like Tetris, right? Like filling
Yeah.
out your calendar, you're like, okay, 3 days here, 1 day here,
Right.
3 days here.
But yeah, you got that, and then the weather too, especially kind of like right now, where
Oh
it's
yeah.
like either monsooning or it's
Yeah.
not. So it's like you gotta hurry up and go, go, go. And last last week it was perfect. I had a solid week doing going, and then this week it's just been rain, rain, rain. So I've
I
had to
know.
push some jobs to next week. But
Yeah.
I think that's for me, that's part of the learning curve is trying to figure out, okay, like make sure you leave a buffer. And for me, most of my jobs are, 1, 2 day jobs.
Yeah.
I'll go sometimes longer, 3 days or whatever. But so not overbooking in a week, that's a big part. So you have flexibility for, breakdowns, maintenance, stuff happens,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got to go and get stuff, go, you break a hose, whatever, you find out the hard way that you
Yep.
can't finish in 2 days and you got a job booked the next day. You got to make
Oh,
sure you space it a
yeah.
little bit. So,
Yeah.
being a one man crew, that's you kind of learn the hard way sometimes,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I've kind of learned that and not to overbook myself, but, but yeah, so.
Well, so as a one man crew, you started that way. You still are at that spot right now.
Yeah.
What you have the jobs shifted from where you started to where you're at now? Are you going after different types now, knowing what you know and you've been learning? How has that shifted?
Would say I'm probably accepting more jobs that I'm willing to take on. I had a huge project. It was just up near what's it near Brenham.
Brenham, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna take it. They were developing like basically taking like I think it was like 10 acres, subdividing and developing into lots for houses. So it would have
Mhm.
been like 10 or 15 houses, a main drive coming in. So it would have been major like grading work, compaction, doing lime on the road for the full 9 yards and all that. I was gonna bring in a lot of help to do it because I that was something I couldn't do myself, and
Sure.
I bid for it, and it got between me and one other group, and they actually were gonna pick me to do it, but I actually declined it just because
Mm.
I wanted to make sure I could provide them with the best service. And at the time, I was like, I don't know if I'd be the right fit for the job, even
Mhm.
though I probably could have taken it. I probably could have taken on a lot more, but I think I just had a little more to learn
Yeah,
in
that
order
mean
to
that
take that on.
yeah,
I just didn't I
absolutely.
didn't want to go over my skis and then ruin your reputation too. That's the other thing you got to think about as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually I think a good nugget of truth right there is
Yeah,
don't bite off more than you can chew and
yeah,
ruin that experience for the customer, but also then that will ruin your reputation for
right.
their future jobs, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
And actually, yeah, and he thanked me for that. The contact did. And he did reach back out and said, "Hey, it's like I just wanted to reoffer it to you. He's like, we really appreciate everything. The bid and everything. He's like, you helped us a lot." I was like, "Yeah, no problem." I was
Yeah,
like,
that's cool.
it was learning for me too. So,
Yeah.
but it's just I would say that's my weakest point is I am coming from a different industry, so learning a few of the things like that on I guess the business side. But I think it's that's when I reach out. I have like family members who are kind of in the industry as well, and I kind of leaned on them to help me
Yeah.
out. So reaching out to people who are smarter than you, that's a good way to,
Oh,
you know,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah, I surround
so,
myself all the time. I try to surround myself people with smarter than me, which isn't hard because if you got like 2 more IQ points, you're good.
yeah,
No, but the other cool part about that is you build trust. Like,
yeah,
when a customer hears you say honestly, "Hey, it's not something I'm comfortable with. I can't do that." Then when you
yeah,
do say, "I can do that," they're even more apt to
yeah,
trust you, right? Like,
sure,
they're more quick to hire
yeah,
you because 'cause you're like, you didn't try to screw them over. You didn't just try to steal a buck.
right,
They know that you know your limitations too.
right. If you be on, I think that's the best thing is be honest with them. Obviously, you want to try to make money and do the deal, but at the end
Right,
of the day, you got to do what's right by them and right by you, and not charging too much, not charging too little, give them a fair deal,
right.
but also being able to provide what you're saying you're going to do,
Yeah,
because it's part of the integrity, being able to say what you can do, and if you can't do it, just be
yeah,
honest about it. And I think that's the best way for long term,
yeah,
for
for
you
sure.
know
You
but
mentioned, you don't wanna charge too much, too little. So how'd you figure out your pricing?
So I actually I basically broke it all down from machine cost to maintenance to fuel to wear on teeth, things like that. And
Mhm.
I came up with basically a number, and then I started doing more research and on reading forums, things like that. And then I just a guy on YouTube is basically breaking down, I think somewhere up north, not in Texas, but he basically broke down the pricing and basically said, I guess I could say prices. I don't know
Yeah,
if
go ahead.
guys typically
Yeah.
do, but he basically said he's like right around 1,800 per day, something like that. And without even like just running my own numbers on what it would cost, it was the exact same value because
Mm,
that's the number I came up. So I was like, man, I was
that's
someone
great.
back a little bit. I was like, it was the number I came up with. And that's for doing like like mulching or whatever. That's
Yeah,
kind of the number I get around. Anything less than that,
yeah,
you're gonna be kind of fighting yourself. Sometimes I do give people a break when you have larger jobs and you can afford to go a little lower. But um, I was actually talking to uh, one of the associates earlier on the call and talking about a customer called me saying they wanted, it was like 15 acres for something for
nice.
$1,000 a day. I
Mm,
was like, I was like,
Eesh.
whoever told you that, hire them.
Yeah.
I was like, you're
Yeah.
gonna, I was told, I was like, I'm not running a small machine. I'm not out,
No.
I'm not out here making a killing either.
Mm-mm.
I'm not the biggest machine. They have, 200 horsepower machines. I can go out there and,
Right.
if you're going to be mulching, if that's what you're trying to do. But yeah, no, that's kind of the number I came up with. And, and it depends on how far you're traveling, and that which you take into
Yeah.
account too. I've I worked the Conroe area, but I mean, I'm not afraid. Also, that's the other thing. I think some people are really afraid to travel. If the job is right, or if it's long enough, if
Right.
it's good enough, and if they'll pay you the right amount, I don't think you should be scared to travel. I mean, I'll drive an hour and a half every day
Yeah.
if it's a week's long job worth doing. One of my first larger jobs I got actually was for a ranch owner up in Dallas. I
Oh,
drove up
nice.
there and took my family with me, and I worked up there all week.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So we made a little vacation out of it,
Yeah.
but when you're kind of starting off, you kind of got to do what you got to do
Yeah.
to,
You're looking for whatever you can snag, but you still want to be
right.
profitable, right? So you're like, I don't want to
Exactly.
just charge $1,000. I'm going to
No,
break
no, no,
even
no, no.
or lose money on that.
Right, right. No, I think I did that one was I should have charged a little more hindsight, but
You
we're
were
still
learning.
starting off a little early. I
Yeah.
think I still charged him, it was 1,800 a day or something like that,
Oh,
but
yeah.
which is still a great deal for him, especially since I'm coming from so far. But he was happy with everything, and it worked out well. We
Good.
got a little vacation out of it and everything.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
but yeah, I think you got to be able to drive a little bit. I've gone all the way to there. I've had several in College Station area, so which is
I
about
figured.
an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, I figured that was because that's another hot spot.
Yeah.
That guys, I know the Houston guys like to drive to is in that area because it's still,
Yep.
Texas A&M
It's
University and all the
Yep.
Aggies who
It's
stay and live there. They keep developing it.
right. It's exactly. So it's developing around there. So you got a lot of people there, and then also like north in like the Willis area. There's a lot of people over there
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Well, and I was actually our last podcast guest. We kind of talked about this too. It's kind of wild that this industry, its service area is like 100-mile radius. It's
Yes.
not like
Yeah.
all your
It
plumbers,
is. Yeah.
electricians who have like one town or two towns,
Yeah.
maybe three
Yeah.
max. It's like you guys load up a trailer with thousands of pounds of machinery and will go all
Yeah.
over. And so we guys will ask sometimes like, well, is there anybody in my area? And I'm like, well, everybody is in everybody's area. There's like everybody loves to travel. So it's hard to say
Yeah.
like, hey, this region of a state, nobody else is allowed to work in.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of work though, especially here in Texas.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I had another lady last week. She was getting a quote, and it's like 2 hours. Where's it at? Remember, but it's 2 hours west of here.
Hmm.
And was wanting it there, and I gave her a quote for it, but I quoted her a little higher. It's like, you gotta
Yeah,
understand,
the
I'm
fuel.
traveling. If yeah, fuel and travel and stay too. If it's
Yeah,
two
that's
hours
true.
away, I'm not gonna be commuting 4 hours every day to and
Yeah,
from home. So I'm gonna get a place to stay. And I told her, I was like, I don't mind doing that if that's also the driving thing. If it's a week's long's worth of work, then I will take it on and do
okay.
it. But I'm not gonna drive. I'm not gonna stay there for 2 days.
Yeah,
It's not. It's
yeah,
almost not economical or worth my time to go that far, even
yeah.
if the price is high enough. But I mean, I don't think they would pay. You
Yeah,
know.
it is a
So
factor, right? And that does
yeah,
play into this. And it should be. Like it's part of when you're doing your economics and figuring out your pricing, not just like, okay, the machine and my payments on the machine, my insurance and all that. Maybe if you have
yeah,
staff, things like that, sure. But also like repairs and
yeah,
also fuel costs, even if it is in town. Like the
yeah.
diesel ain't cheap, we all know, right? It
It
it's
it
a
ain't
lot.
cheap, and it's been changing quite a bit.
Yeah, it's been shifting around for
Back in
sure.
January, it was, it only cost me, a couple $100 a day.
Yeah.
Now it's almost seemed like it doubled
Yeah.
over, and then it's just kind of, it goes down, going back
Yeah,
up.
it's
So
been
that's
coming down a little bit.
coming down, going up. So it's just like you kind of have to take that into account too.
Right.
That's when some of these people understand, like some of the customers definitely understand, like, but then you get certain customers who just have like kind of no idea, or don't really have a radar,
Mhm.
like what it costs to run equipment.
Mhm.
And that's what I try to tell them is like, listen, set of teeth costs, close to $800, like
Yeah.
that, and then you got to replace that every week or two, depending on what you're doing with it and what you're hitting, what you're not hitting.
Yep.
And so it's an expensive cost, and the wear on the machine too. So that's
Yeah.
really the driving cost. A lot of the customers understand, and I try to explain to them in a nice way. It's like, listen, it's like I can't afford to go less than a certain price.
Right.
Some people can, but if they do that, then they won't be in the industry too long.
Right. Are there
But
any costs that like guys in this industry don't consider that now that you've had some time in it, you're like, hey, when you're running your hard costs, you've got to also include X. What are some of those things that guys don't think about?
um, hmm, think repairs is obviously what is everybody kind of thinks about.
Even though I know a lot of guys don't put that aside though. They just, well, yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna happen, but maybe it won't happen to me
yeah,
for a while, and they don't really actually
yeah.
plan for it. They don't price with it.
Well, for well, for me, I think it was the machine in general. So when I first started, I we were using we had a about a 95 SVL, and that was our farm use. We were kind of using it for some properties
Mhm.
my dad had, and I was working for him doing some stuff. Um, so I started using that, and I bought it from him. So I started using it full time when I started my business, and then it croaked on me. It just got a big job, first big job, drove an hour and a half up in the Trinity, and
Mm.
then I went to turn it over on the trailer, and it just knock, 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 and I was just like, I turned it off, hoping it was something, and
Great.
then engine knocking, just toast. So I was just like,
Ugh.
I didn't even get it off the trailer. So that talk about like demoralizing. So I was just
Hey, at least
like,
you didn't have to put it back on the trailer broken.
oh man.
That
So
would have been even
well,
harder.
yeah. So I I went shopping that evening
Yeah.
or just seeing what they're just pricing them out and just
Mhm.
trying to figure it out. And I ended up. So if anybody in the future this ever happens to you, what do you do? I had at that point I had a month and a half of jobs booked out, and
Oh,
when I had
no.
so I was like I need to I got to do this, otherwise I'm not going to be able to do the business. So
Yeah.
I went and a rented for a month, and that's the best way you can do if you're going to have to do it instead of like weekly, because you can get to they give you a little bit of a break if you rent it for the month.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing that for I think I rented for the week for the first time, and then the next time I was like, all right, I got to get it for the month. So I got it for the month for 2 months, and then at that point, it was almost double what a machine payment would be, and that's when I ended up getting something new, and I was and getting a loan for that,
Yeah.
and it was definitely worth it. And I think that's one side you might take for granted, because like now I'm making machine payments, but I'm saving a whole lot more versus like renting. But also, I have
Yeah.
a newer machine I can rely on. I know it's going to go for me every day.
Yeah.
I also have, there's a warranty on it for whatever that's worth. So you're going to get a certain amount of hours out of a machine, but like you said, at one point in time, you got to start putting stuff away to replace that machine. Even then,
Yeah. Yeah, that
so
makes sense. No, it's good. That's a good piece of advice there. So something else you said, I've seen like on your site, and I know we help build your website, so kind of know the
yeah,
language on there. But you had said like 90% of your work starts with clearing and mulching, and then on site, like it is or on site, you start asking about what's happening next. Like, why are we doing that? Which feels like an upsell, an
yes,
opportunity for an upsell.
right.
Unpack that, man. Let's get into that for
Yeah.
a minute.
Yeah. So I have a lot of customers. They call me, say, "Oh, I just need to come in and get it mulched or whatever." And I ask them, and I can tell them what I can do, but I ask them, "What's your intent for the property?"
Mhm.
And then they'll be like, "Well, I just want it clear, just cleaned up." And I'm like, "Okay, then yeah, coming in mulching, that's a good option for you."
Mhm.
And a lot of times they like, "Oh, I'm getting ready to build or whatever." And then I'll tell them, be like, "Okay, if you're gonna mulch, you got to be careful. You're gonna have a lot of the debris left over, things like that. And then if you're gonna be building a pad or a driveway, you don't want stumps there. So that's an opportunity for me, because I come in, it's like I can mulch the area, but if there's an area where you're gonna put a pad, I'm telling them like, hey, you were gonna want these pulled. You're gonna want this out of the way for to do it the right way. You got to scrape off the
Mhm.
topsoil. You got to do all the prep. So that's another job. Say I can do that, and I can do X, Y, and Z, and which has been actually I've had a few jobs where it kind of leads into that.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
we
like you said, it's a way to get more than just the clearing.
yeah,
And that's kind of, I don't want to be just the clearing guy,
yeah,
I want to be I don't want to be like the everything guy, but I can at least do get you a site ready.
right,
And
a
that's
little
kind
site
of
prep.
on the website. Yeah.
Yep.
Site prep essentially, which
Yeah.
includes the clearing or the underbrushing in that case, because a lot of times these lots are just 100% wooded, so you can't walk it to even get the lay of the land. So underbrushing it, then they can see, okay, they can envision where they can see, bring the wife out and see
Mhm.
where do you want to put the
Yeah,
house,
where are you gonna put
and
this at?
then exactly, and then you can select the trees you don't want to keep, chop them, dig up
Yeah,
stumps, remove them, do it the right way, then
yeah,
kind of go from there. So
yeah.
I've had a few customers where I've did that. I did the few weeks ago. I had a customer. The largest pad I've done, like 120 by 70. A
Mhm.
lot of truckloads of dirt we had moving, and came in, knocked probably 15 trees down, burned them, stacked them, burned them, and then started hauling trucks, moving dirt.
Right.
So, and then did his driveway. So I did everything. So that was probably my first from start to finish. We did trees, digging up stumps, stacking, burning, did the pad site, and then also did his
Yeah.
driveway, did everything for him.
So
So it was a pretty
let's
big
say
job.
that you just let's say you had only done the mulching. What would
Yeah.
you have made if you just did the mulching?
Yeah. I mean, you're talking probably, 2,200, something like
Okay.
that
Yeah.
for that, something like that versus,
And then now what
the,
did you make by doing all those other upselling it into those others?
yeah,
What did we get
upselling
to?
it, gross was like 40,000.
There we go. So we
So
go from like a
that,
$2,500
yeah,
job all the way up to a
yeah,
$40,000 job, right?
right. Now, I mean, that includes the cost of the dirt and everything. So,
Sure.
but yeah, way more than 2,000.
Yeah. It
But
would
like you said, you not just upselling it for like your sake, but for the
no.
customer's sake. Hey, if you
Yeah.
bring me in, I'll get it all ready for you. You don't have to
Yes.
hire five different guys.
Yes.
I
Absolutely.
can get you ready to the point where you're ready to get your builder to come in and start framing it out
Yep.
or looking at it or doing some minor adjustments to the
Yeah.
pad. But I'm going to get you level, get you
Right.
compacted, and get your
That's right.
builders can come in and
Yeah.
take over. And I'm
That's
hands
right.
off from there.
That's right. That's man, I this is something I'm like telling a lot of our clients and stuff to like
Yeah,
think ahead. And it's fine if you just want to be the mulching guy, you can be. We got some
yeah,
guys who just love forestry mulching
yeah,
and land clearing, and that's it. And I'm like, cool. You're
yeah.
just gonna need more volume if you ever plan to hit like a couple million and more. But it's not
Right.
uncommon for us to have guys call and say, hey man, your leads we ended up landing $1 million job, $2 million, 3 million, and you
Sure.
should see it. I'll share it on social media and man, the land clearing guys will come out and say, there's no way that that guy, cleared 40 acres for $4 million. And I have to always comment and go, you're right, because he's not just doing land clearing, he's doing the whole
Yeah.
site prep. And then he's
Yeah.
handing it off to somebody else. And our guys who
Yeah.
can figure out how to upsell into the other additional services, just like what you said, man, get good at just asking the questions. Hey, what are you planning to do with this? Why are you mulching it to begin with?
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
did you know that we also have an excavator and we have this other stuff that can get it all prepped for you so you don't have to call 4 or 5 contractors. And now you've gone from a $2,500 job to a, 50K or 100K or a million or 2 million, whatever. And
Yeah.
that's how we start getting some significant like growth
Right.
going on.
Right. And even if it's for somebody as small as like me, who's just like a one man or a two man or whatever, um, it doesn't necessarily have to be like that huge commercial project. You could, because like I'm not necessarily going to take on. I won't be able to do as fast as a clearing job of like 40 acres. Like I'm
Sure.
just not going to be able to by myself. I'm
Sure.
not running. If they're mulching or if they're just doing like the land clearing, I would have to bring in some help or something like
Yeah.
that versus some of these other guys.
Yeah.
But, I'm kind of that smaller niche guy who can say, hey, I got 5 acres or whatever. I need clear cut, and
Yeah.
then site prepped and then whatever. That's kind of where I can come in and do it.
Yeah.
I've actually had a call from a customer who said they were worried. They were like, I have a half acre, I need cleared and prepped, whatever. And I was told if I have less than 5 acres, they won't come out and touch it or whatever. So, and that's fair enough. They don't want to touch
Yeah.
it. Some of these bigger guys, they're making those,
Yeah.
you know,
Big moves.
100,
Yeah. They get, well, get that the Barcos and stuff like that. They're like, it does, what's going
yeah,
to cost us 5 grand just to come out there.
exactly. Right. You got the bigger machine. So I think there's a kind of a niche for the smaller guys for now, at
That's
least
good.
hopefully, right?
Yeah. That's good.
for me. So the plan is eventually to try to grow, right? And I think keeping yourself versatile is a way to do that, right? If I can
Right.
offer, hey, I can do a pad site, I can do a pond or something, I could bring in a guy I can trust that I can set loose. Hey, go do
Yeah.
this pad while I'm over here mulching doing this,
Right.
doing the more doing something or vice versa, whichever's, he's better suited at or that I can know I can trust him to do. Um, I think that's the way to do it versus if you're like a mulching only guy and like well, you're gonna have to have two mulching equipment, right? Versus
Yeah.
one. So multiple heads or whatever you're gonna
Right.
run versus like, speaking of which, that skid steer that broke down,
Uh-huh.
we still have it. We're gonna fix it. So
Okay.
I'm
Nice.
rebuilding the motor now, but it's in limbo. But that's the plan is to try to be able to try to not necessarily run a bunch of crews, but if I can get other guys
Sure.
going while I'm doing other things, that's the way to try to grow the business. That's the part where it's like kind of like the unknown. Like I've never
Right.
obviously done this before, so how is it? Maybe I ask you is how would you say is like the not necessarily the best way, but the best and safest way to scale up a business from like a sole, operator?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's what a lot of guys share on this show, and even our clients we talk through. First one is what you're doing is upsell into other services if you're okay with that. Not that everybody has to do
Yeah,
that, but it's an easy one because that one phone call, that one lead, as you're paying for marketing, you don't need volume of leads. You only need a handful because one lead now is worth 10x more than it was by itself. And so now you
right.
can, and then you can also figure out maybe there's aspects that you're uncomfortable with in terms of hours in the day and whatever. Like they may need more, but you're like, well, I can do these next two things, but I can't do that last piece for you. Like we've got some guys who will even pour the concrete, right? Because they're
Yeah,
comfortable with that. But then we got other guys who are like, no,
yeah,
I'll go all the way up till that, but I don't mess with concrete, right? So
yeah,
figuring out like what could you upsell and be able to increase your revenue off of that one sale. That's one. Second one is if you've got a volume play, like we just got a number of leads coming in that we keep working, some of them are mulching, but maybe one of them is a larger like ponds, for instance. We got a number of guys who love doing the ponds, but that's a lot of excavation work, right? So guys will scale into stuff like that where they buy one more machine and they get one operator who's your excavation guy while
yeah,
you keep doing the forestry mulching and general mulching. And then we find ways to start advertising for the excavator because that excavator now is also a great opportunity for demolition, right?
yeah,
So now all of a sudden guys are moving into the
yeah,
demo space that they hadn't planned on because they were doing ponds, which was like a hybrid of land clearing and excavation for the ranches. It was just an easy move up, but it freed up more opportunity to do more jobs in other spaces they hadn't considered before. And then you can kind of see where it goes from there. It's like, okay, now we
yeah.
have two mulchers because we got jobs going in different directions. So another
Hmm.
operator taking that one. Now we got two excavators. Now we've got XYZ, 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 and you can keep scaling and growing into that. But I would say our most successful clients are the ones who figured out how to do both. They have figured out how to upsell and do more services off of the one job and
Hmm.
do it at volume. The guys who are doing like 10 million to 20 million are at that stage. They're doing a lot of site prep stuff, commercial and residential, ranches, homeowners. I call them also hybrids, where it's a residential ranch owner who wants you to
Hmm.
do some commercial work on their property, but it's not necessarily like a business is moving out there, right?
Yeah,
That has all
yeah,
this red tape and stuff and net 30. But it's a residential who's going to pay you right at the end of the job, which everyone loves residential, but it's much bigger. They're putting pads down. We've seen guys who are, especially here in Texas, right? The South Texas guys, and even some of the West Texas and East actually, who are really pouring money into hunting ranches, right? So they've bought 500 acres. They're putting in new fencing. They need hunting lanes cleared. They
yeah,
want stuff installed, but they also want a ranch house. They want guest house built out there so that their hunting guests can come and stay. They want the RV spots built in. So now you come out with you getting those pad sites ready to go for all the RVs with new sewage and electrical and all that. So now you imagine this one residential spot is kind of turned into a commercial job, but they needed a month or two of work at with multiple machines. And
yeah,
that's all of a sudden now, in a sense, they're going to be selling, what do they call it? Like they're leasing it to other hunters. They're going to be making money on that.
Yeah.
So they want to go quick and they're ready to spend the money. But now you also have an ongoing job too, because they're going to want to keep you working on those lanes. And now we have another bunkhouse we want built. And so
Right.
there's a few ways, especially in the southern states, man, there's a few ways to skin that cat to scale and grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it always comes down to what you want to do. There are some guys who are like, I don't like that's a lot of extra headaches and work, and I don't
Right.
want to do that,
Right.
right?
Right.
So,
No, there's like it's almost like an equilibrium that you'll pass through. Talk to a good friend of mine. They've been doing septic business for a long time, and they're busy enough to keep all themselves busy. But it's
mhm,
like like say, say if my take home is like $100,000, right?
mhm.
Well, if I hire three guys, I got to pay three guys a decent enough salary to
Yeah,
stay with me. You know, at that point, if I'm paying three guys, will I still be making 100,000? And now I got more responsibility. I got to pay three guys. I'm making the same exact money versus if I was working by myself.
right.
The answer probably will be yes. I'll probably be making close to the same, depending on like
Yeah,
how
it
much I'm
depends.
doing, or depends how
Right.
much jobs you're working. Um, but it's like, and that's it's a fair argument, is to say like I don't want to, like some people say like I don't want to deal with taking all that extra on when risk versus reward is
Right.
kind of the situation. So
Right.
um,
But
I
you
think I yeah, go
I was going
ahead.
to say, but the goal is, if we're hiring people, it's to free us up to do more so that we can scale,
Right.
right? Like,
Right.
so I
Right.
used to be a solo entrepreneur myself. I used to only like Blue Goat Land Leads was just me for a long time.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where we grew to a point where I was like, well, we're about maxed out because I only have a certain amount of hours in a day that I can do stuff.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
then bringing on my first employee freed up some of my time. But here's the problem: if you don't increase production though, or increase sales, then yes, now you're going to be losing money because the same amount of money is coming in, but now you got two
Hmm.
mouths to feed. So
Exactly.
if we can free up my time so that I can go do more sales, then with increased revenue, and it's offsetting, the production part is actually getting done better because you got someone focused on it. And now we can actually increase our profit as well. And I can actually keep scaling and growing. And so, and now, even for us, our company's at like 19 employees, right?
Yeah.
But we've increased revenue, and we've actually gotten better at results for our clients because I'm not the one doing it all.
All
Other
right.
people
You
now
have
are
help.
super
Yeah.
focused on doing
Right.
even better job at it than I could do by myself. So in your world,
Yeah.
same thing. Like, what would it look like to do even better
Right.
at sales because you have another operator headed out in
Right.
the field, and that operator's not having to take phone calls for sales meetings. They could
Exactly.
just
You're
focus on
not
that one job.
you're not spread so thin, and that's the other
Exactly.
part of it, is like, yeah, you're operator owner is great. I'm the guy, doing that, balancing the books, making sure, bills are
Exactly.
paid, stuff like that. I'm taking calls, checking my emails, making sure I got
Right.
to call back these people at the end of the
Right.
day, or
You
or
got it.
finding time to call them, or
Yeah.
I'll be answering calls in in the machine. I'll be
Yeah.
mulching. I'll
You're
have
like
to.
got the
Let me
phone
let
up and
me.
you're trying to like stick shift it.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, most days, I got the
Oh, the
AirPods,
earbuds.
but
Yeah.
yeah. But so I was like, all right, I was like, hold on, let me pause the machine real quick because I
Yeah.
can't focus. Like you said, you spread yourself too thin. So I think that's actually absolutely right.
Yeah. What
That's the
would
biggest upside, is if you can increase the production to do
right.
that.
Yeah. And so what is your biggest constraint right now for you and your company? From taking on more work? Is it the equipment? Is it the people? Is it like what is it?
I would say it's just because I just want to make sure I'm sustainable. I would say I got a lot. Right. I just had my fourth kid. He's 2 months old now.
Oh,
Yeah.
congrats.
So appreciate it. So yeah. So I got a big family. I got a
Yeah.
mouse to feed. I got people to take care of. So that's one big thing. It's not a burden because I think everybody should have family and everything, but um, it's something that weighs on your mind.
Yeah.
Something to think about when you're taking more risks to try to go out and
Yeah.
expand. If you expand too fast,
Oh yeah.
you lose money. But at the same
Absolutely.
time, it's also the same reason that I'm doing this in the first place. I'm doing it for them.
Yeah.
And that kind of circle back to that. That's the main reason I wanted to start my own business
Mm,
and leave my 9 to 5. um, is because I wanted to start my own business, something I could leave to them. When I retire or when I die, they're not getting my 9 to 5 job. I mean, they might, pension, whatever,
sure.
401k, but even
Yeah.
then, like I would rather leave my kids a business or even a business model or
Yeah.
even a business mindset rather
Yeah.
than leaving them anything else. And to me, that was more important than that. And I wanted to be able to also teach my kids on how to do the trade too,
Yeah.
bring them to work, do whatever. So
Yeah.
as soon as my son's, probably 10, 12 years old, I'll be bringing him with me.
Dude,
So
yes, I love that. Our last guest started at 5. Like his dad would put
yeah.
him in the machine at 5 with him and sit on his lap and
Um,
learn how to operate the stuff. Because it was funny. He was like, he said, been doing this for 27 years. And I was like, but your company's only like 5
You're
years old.
32.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, because this company's 5 years old, but I was helping my dad's company at age 5 beyond. I
Yeah.
was out there with him. He was like, bring me tools, bring me my stuff. You're running with
Exactly.
me to go do sales and stuff. And he learned a lot of that just as a kid.
I think it's invaluable, and and that's, like that's what I'm doing it for them, and I think it's something we can, lead to them. That's the
Yeah.
whole point of it for me. So
Yeah, I want it to be a blessing to my family as well. I don't have 4 kids. I got 3 I got 3
yeah.
teens, so mine a little
Ooh,
bit
yeah.
further along, but I
Yeah.
think the same thing. My son, I pulled him in about 2 years ago to start learning how to do websites and all that, and
There you go.
he's done well. And what dude is wild. His very first website he built, it was good. It was a client one, and it was pretty good. I had to help him a lot, shape it and all that, and we launched it. And this guy has probably sold the most millions of dollars as a client with us and through that website. And I'm like, this is insane. And he's a site prep guy, right? So he's doing all the big
Yeah.
stuff. But our largest lead that we've ever brought in 10 years of doing this, the largest lead that we've ever brought in for a client is he told us, this was like 3 months ago. It was $100 million bid, and it was through the website. And they found him, which again, like you, they found him through forestry mulching. And
Yeah.
he had the same question, and he was like,
What's your intent?
what's the
What
intent?
do
They
you
were
want to
like,
do with
we're
it?
putting out this really big, I don't remember if it was a data center or something, like, but they needed a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff cleared. But then he was like, well, we do site prep too. I can get all of the other stuff ready at a commercial level. We've got all
Yeah.
the equipment and stuff. And they were like, well, then great, then give us a bid for the whole thing. And
Yeah.
he's been running. It took him like a month to build out the numbers. It was like $100 million bid. I still haven't heard of whether he landed. He's going to be a guest on the podcast too. I've been really wanting to hear, like,
Cool.
dude,
Cool.
how do you get something to $100 million?
Well, that's like you said, a lot of people don't know. They're like, okay, first step, I need to go out, I need to clear the property. So
Right.
they're Google searching mulching, land
Mm-hmm.
clearing guy, and then
Mm-hmm.
you pop up or whatever. And that kind of goes back to like even like the name of your company. And that was the one thing that I was trying to research, what should I call the company? Mulching, underbrushing, whatever.
Yeah.
And then a good friend of mine, he said, he's like, don't limit yourself to mulch. He's like, what if you're going to do dirt work, whatever, this or that? So I asked
That's right.
him just earthwork, Eberly
Right.
Earthworks. So you might not snag that, that customer who's just looking for mulching or land clearing,
Right.
that guy.
Right.
But if you get a guy like you who does the algorithm for your
Yeah.
Google or for your
Yeah.
website, then when they search that, you'll come up, but you also say, hey, oh, this guy
Yeah.
does, site prep, he does, bonds or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Yep.
I think that's one thing to consider, kind of when you're
Yeah.
thinking about that.
I had someone ask me that recently, like, "Hey, I'm thinking about names." And they were leaning toward just their name, and I was like, "Well,
Yeah.
like that's cool." And I like my family name too. Like we actually in
Yeah.
my house, it says Stockel House, Haus, because we have a German background, and it's like our whole
Yeah.
like family thing. But you won't find that on my company or other businesses I've owned, because I'm like,
Right.
I want it to be something that doesn't have to have me if I pass it on to children or if I sell it one day. Especially, I don't want
Sure.
people to feel like, oh, it can't go anywhere unless this original owner comes with it.
Sure.
But then on top of that, I want it to still communicate what it is that we do, and not
Right.
just be about me. I want it to be about what it is that people are looking for.
Right. Yeah. 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 Sure.
So, and you got the blend, you got the Eberly Earthworks. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you got the family element, but you got the Earthworks,
Right.
which fits the whole
Right.
piece, the moving piece.
Yeah, for me, I think I wanted to kind of incorporate the family thing because, like I
Yeah,
said,
cool.
I want to eventually train up my kids, and if they don't want to do it, that's fine. It
Right.
dies on me, that's fine. But
Yeah. But if you had just said I'm Eberly LLC, it'd have been like,
right,
but
they'd have been
what
like,
do you
"What
do
is
though?
that?"
Like how does that work?
Right.
And you would have had work real hard to get that brand name for what you do. Like, and it can happen, right? Like Walmart, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
you can get there, but it's takes a long time to go that route.
for sure.
So anyway, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, where do you see your company in 5 years? Paint me the picture.
5 years, I hope to still be doing business.
Heck yeah, let's go.
um, but no, in 5 years, I hopefully by then I'm expanding. Hiring, like you said, like hiring out, whether it be somebody full time or something like that.
Right,
I think I would like to get to that point. Do I want to be, running like 10 crews? I'm not going to say never, but
right.
to
But
say I'll just,
yeah,
I will do whatever whatever door opens, whatever God leads in front of me
yeah,
that I feel like is the right move to do.
yeah,
That's me and my, whatever the best move is for me and my
right,
family and whatever I can handle, right? If I can handle the jobs. But I'm definitely open to that. And I would like to get to that point.
yeah. That's cool.
Because I think that's the way to go to get to where where I want to
Yeah,
be. I'll probably always be an operator, out there working. I don't see myself just sitting on the
yeah,
sidelines, being just a
yeah.
drive around the truck, do
Right.
sales, collecting checks, this and that, which, you know, it needs to be done. But I do enjoy being out in the woods, being out working, doing stuff like that.
Yeah. Which if at the when again going back to the scaling discussion, when you do start to get beyond just a handful of operators, and now you've got crews, there is a level of
Yeah.
leadership that's required,
Yeah.
and that
Right.
level of leadership will actually take a big chunk of your time.
Right.
And so that's where guys
Absolutely.
have to make that decision on, well, if I still want to operate, then I actually can't. You can have more staff, you can have a couple of crews,
Yeah.
but you can't get to a place where you're like you've got mid management too over them. Like you get to a place where we have so much going on here. I do have to step out of that role just to give 40 to 60 hours a week of leadership to
Right.
the
Right.
company now, to all the moving parts and pieces. So it's a
Right.
real thing to consider.
Right. I did have, when I worked at the HVAC test and balance. So I was a project supervisor. So I have a
Oh
little
yeah.
bit of experience of like leading
Yeah.
teams. Like I had a major project actually out in Katy, you probably the epicenter. I don't know
Oh
if
yeah.
you've heard of
Yeah.
that.
For sure.
Yeah. So I did all the HVAC testing, leading
Oh
all the
nice.
crews to do all
Very
that. So
cool.
yeah. But it was a major project, and it was, I forget like I say, the monetary value of the job, but it was a big job, a lot of
Big.
weight on my shoulders,
Yeah.
but I lead multiple crews doing it. So I'm familiar with doing all that.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily like, I guess, scared of that side of it.
Yeah. It's really, do
It
you
is,
want to? You're like,
yeah,
no
it's
thanks.
do I want to? Can I handle it? Yes, I can.
Yeah.
It's just another risk. You
Yep.
got, it's different when you're in that leadership role and you're responsible for the guys doing the work and making sure they're doing it right because you're
Right.
turning in the report at the end of the day. It's also another thing when you're the owner of the business.
Yeah.
You're not only telling them what to do, but you're also making sure, they get paid so they can feed their
Right.
families too. So that's the other side, is like, me, I can kind of squeeze here and there, but if I don't make sure these guys get paid, then they don't
Right.
have enough, that. So that's the weight that I would say is probably what I kind of be a little scared of, is
Yeah.
that side of it. It's
Yeah.
just, because you hiring other people, you got to make sure
Oh, for
you
sure.
can, if you're taking the risk to take them on, so
Dude, it's
you got to make
scary
sure
as
you
all
can.
get out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when we crossed over like 10 employees, and we were still hiring like three more at the same time. And I just remember
Yeah.
having kind of a freak out moment. I was like, wait, like we're at a
We got over
stage
10
now
employees.
that had like I'm no longer really in control of my company. I'm the head, like I know where we're going, but like they're the ones doing so much for our
Yeah.
clients. And if they all decide to act a fool, we're losing this whole thing. Like we're
Yeah,
a
you're
crash and burn.
yeah.
And
You got to have a lot of trust. So you got
yeah,
to have whoever you bring on. So,
yeah,
but
for sure. So well, that's cool, man. We're for you, man. Like I'm a fan of you. Let's go. I want to see you hit to those goals in your business. So last thing, last question I'm gonna ask you though is let's say you got, for the people listening right now, sometimes we get a lot of new guys who are like either haven't started, just started, or are just kind of a few months in. Like what is someone who's trying to figure out how to turn this thing into a real thing, real business
Mhm.
like you've already been able to do? Like what would you tell that guy?
I would say, don't be afraid of the marketing. I mean, I know that's kind of why you're talking to me now, but for me, for a while, it was I started off. I was really slow and really thinking, is this going to work or not?
Hmm.
But it's very cliche. The old saying, you gotta spend money to make money.
Yeah.
That's true. You're not your name's not going to get out there. It's hard to do, not only as a sole operator yourself, but it's hard to do as an operator yourself, working the business side, but also doing the marketing side, everything like that. A friend of mine, a friend of a friend of my wife's, and we went over there having a barbecue and talking, and he was he worked with his family business, and he's like, oh yeah, it's like you can go in, create all the ads, do the website, do all this. And I already had done a lot of that myself.
Hmm.
It's just like, it's like, yeah, I can do a lot of that. I'm tech savvy enough where I can do some of it, but I was like, I gotta do that, and then I gotta worry about
Oh,
all
yeah.
the X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
As a sole operator, getting somebody to help you out with that, whether it's with y'all or even with somebody else. And I started off with a different marketing on too, and they were decent enough to get me started. But you got to do at least something,
Yeah.
to kind of get your wheels going, to take that away from something that you're not responsible for. It's almost
Yeah.
like I'm hiring you to be like a part of my team. Like you work for Eberly Earthworks. I mean, I guess by proxy you do, because I'm
Yeah.
hiring you guys, but it's something that you know that I can take off my shoulders so I can focus on the other thing
Right.
and focus on growing the business.
Right.
But without taking that leap, spending a little money to make a little money, to get your name out there, to get the leads rolling in, the jobs rolling in, you got to have that. Otherwise, you
Yeah.
won't have a business to keep
Yeah.
going. So that was the thing I was really hesitant on. I didn't get into marketing until probably 6 months in of launching the business. And I felt it. I was struggling.
Yeah.
I was as I said at the beginning, I was working a part-time job, working contracts with my buddy of mine. I was leaning on that to get by, paying the bills. And then once I
Yeah.
started the marketing, it was a huge risk for me. And then it started paying off, it started going,
Nice.
and then my machine broke down, and
Oh.
so it was like one thing I was like, well, am I really supposed to be doing this? So it's like, I'd say don't give up, don't give up at the first
Yeah.
storm, because there'll be many storms.
Yeah.
You'll be out there working on a job, and you'll break a hose, and then you'll fix it,
Yeah.
and you'll get back on, work 2 more hours, and then you'll break the other hose that's connected,
Yeah.
and you'll be like, I just I want
Yeah.
to go home. But just persevere, and don't think the world's just attacking you, because
Yeah.
that's just a part of it. So
Yeah, it's ups and downs. I mean, we're the same way,
yeah.
right? We are a marketing agency, and we
Yeah.
spend tens of thousands of dollars on our own marketing. Because
Yeah.
even as a marketing agency, it's not like we get a pass. No, we have to also invest in our marketing and spend. We shoot for 10% of our
Right.
annual revenue every single month goes toward our own marketing, and we every month I'm actually going. If we've increased in revenue, can I increase my spend? Because we know for every dollar we spend, we get X amount back through our own sales process and retention from our clients and things like that. So you reverse engineer the math. You're like, hey, I know that marketing equals X amount of return on investment. So
Right.
therefore, how much money can we put in the machine to keep
Right.
getting X amount back? Right.
Right. Right. I think it's like, oh, what would you say? It's like 6x of what you put in, of what you should be getting out of like your marketing, or 10x,
Yeah,
something like
I mean,
that.
our clients see between 5x and 15x ROI. Like that's
Yeah.
an average.
Yeah.
We've got someone yesterday who told us they are at 500x ROI. So you're like, okay, I wish even my own company was at 500x ROI
Yeah.
because we're not even there. But it's a
Yeah.
blend. So usually I think, especially in the dirt world, if you're paying anybody for marketing, again, if you there are some other great companies out there, right? So but there's a lot of guys who are not. So just be careful.
Right.
But whoever you go with,
Yeah.
you should be shooting for a 5x to 15x
Yeah.
ROI in the dirt world, I think,
Yeah.
and even higher if you can get even higher.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, that would definitely be, that's probably my advice for guys starting off. It's like you just maybe save up a little bit or get some help or somehow if you can.
Yeah.
If you could do some kind of marketing, just do something to get you going, to get your name out there. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. And I did the whole social media thing, doing the ad, doing the videos and everything. And I had video with like almost a 500,000 views. Did I have any
Wow.
jobs from that? No. So they
Which
look
it's
great,
hard to
but
quantify that because there
it
are like
is.
we've
It
got a
is.
bunch of videos out there too, and nobody has called me saying, "Oh, I saw that one video and I'm ready to sign up with you." But I
Yeah.
have had guys say, "I've watched a number of your videos quietly in the background, and now I
Yeah.
feel like we can trust you, and therefore now let's talk about what you can do for my
Yeah.
company." Right? So there's an
Right.
indirect correlation
Yeah.
potentially on making money, but not a they saw that one thing and they're ready to sign up. Right?
Right. Right. I think that's how I found y'all guys. It was some guy on YouTube basically reviewing on how he got started and used y'all guys to get going or whatever. So it does work, but for the right like clientele, the videos I'm posting on it, I was posting on Instagram. I still do them, but they was just people just doom scrolling looking for, oh,
Yeah.
that looks really cool.
Yeah.
Mulcher, call me for quote. It's like I don't
Dude,
need
they
a
love
quote.
it.
You go to the next, but yeah.
They love it. I tell
Um,
I that's one of the things I love about this
yeah,
industry is that who doesn't like a giant yellow, red, black machine, whatever it is,
yeah, right.
like just
Any
moving
guy in
dirt,
the right
moving
mind.
trees.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I got some friends. I got like one of my friends is a realtor, and I got another friend that's another seven. And I jokingly tell them like, listen, if you guys were in insurance right now, I wouldn't know how to put a video ad out for you because it's
Yeah,
boring as all get out. But for my dirt world guys, man, everyone loves to see the machines, and so we're
yeah,
actually now in something you may want to look at too is we're actually offering now to go out to our Texas clients and do drone footage, do on-site footage, do owner interviews, all of that, so
yeah,
that we can get like 6 months to a year's worth of footage. Because right now, if you're
yeah,
doing meta ads, which is Facebook and Instagram,
yeah,
the Andrometer, the update from 2025 is like a machine where it needs lots and lots of videos. And
yeah,
most of us know, like, we don't all shoot videos every day. So if you're only shooting like, I got 3 videos
yeah,
to throw in there, it's just not enough. We got to get more.
yeah. Actually, it's funny you bring that up. My brother does a lot of film work, and I had him come out on my last project, and he
Oh,
did a
good,
lot of film stuff. So I'm gonna be doing that exactly, putting it out there
good.
because I think it's people like watching that stuff. They like watching the
Yeah,
drone stuff. It's just it catches your eye,
it
it's
is.
interesting and
Yeah.
everything. So
And you see that before and after, like people love that too. And
yes,
and it give especially if you
absolutely.
are a landowner, then all of a sudden you're going, well, I never thought about how
Can do
clean
that for
that looks.
myself.
Yeah, I should
Yeah,
do that for my property. Let's go ask for a quote and see what it would cost, right? So yeah, it works, especially in the southern states, even our northern states too. On Facebook ads, we do Google ads, Facebook ads, and all that. But like the videos on Facebook ads and YouTube just do really, really well. At least grabbing attention and getting people to go, yeah, let's reach out and get a quote and see what that could look like. So highly recommend it. Well, cool, man. Thanks for being on, Justin. I appreciate you and your business. And like I said earlier, we're fans of you guys. Want you guys to keep scaling and growing. Want those four littles of yours to have something to
appreciate it.
inherit that's valuable. So anyway, those of you who are listening, if you're on Spotify or Amazon or Apple, just please, if you can leave a review and subscribe, we'd love to have you. If you're on YouTube, same thing, subscribe so you can see when these episodes drop. We got a really fun episode coming up soon. Talk about our new book. Look, just between me, you and Justin, we launched a new book. Don't tell anybody. We haven't told the world yet, but we did. And we're going to talk about, I got my operations director on the next episode. We're going to talk about some of the chapters in this because, again, marketing, something that everybody needs to be doing. So anyway, thanks y'all for being on. Thank you, Justin, for being on. We'll talk to you guys later. Take care.